more stuff. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Hi, yeah, I'm a clinical psychologist and a writer. So for many years, I've been working with first responders, police, fire, that sort of thing. And that's been very engaging work, hard work. And
Yeah,
going through that process, I found a need to take time for myself away from all of that. And
right.
so I've been writing. I've been writing poetry, westerns, mainly westerns, the last 10, 15 years. And I love that. I grew up on a ranch. And
Yeah,
so that just came to me.
right.
Yeah.
Have you always been a writer? How did you get into writing?
I got into writing by writing very, very bad poetry in high school.
I think I did that too.
Yeah, yeah, and that kind of got me into it. But over the years, when I was doing psychology, like I would try and do some writing, but when I was going through graduate school, I just couldn't write because everything was very scientific, very, step by step.
I
And
imagine
it
you were
took,
really busy too.
oh yeah, and then so getting out of college and graduate school, and I just couldn't write for a while. And then I got back into it.
Right.
And for the last 10, 15 years, I've been doing this nonstop. So in the morning, I work 2 hours on writing, and the rest of the day is the clinical work.
So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you got into Westerns, just because I know you said you grew
Uh,
up on a ranch. So have you always just been around it? Like, what are your favorite films, books?
so what happened with that is, as a young person, I used to love westerns, and
Okay.
then and all the John Wayne stuff, all that stuff. But
Mhm.
then as I got older, I started questioning some of that kind of stuff, and I wasn't really too sure about it.
Mhm.
Because there's a lot of stuff happened in the old days. It was not cool, not good, and I get that. And then so my Western writing has gotten kind of revisionist, if you might say. It kind of looks at things from a little different viewpoint than the traditional Westerns.
Right.
And so that has been a real challenge, but also going back to the memories of childhood and the horses and the cows and the kind of culture of the West, and then
Mhm.
the challenges like Yellowstone and some of these kind of TV shows that are
Yeah.
going on. The challenges to the little ranches, the little farms have been tremendous. Last 50, it used to be in the. I want to talk too much. I'm going to keep going.
No,
So it
yeah,
used
that's
to
the
be.
point.
It used to be in California. There used to be family could have 160 acres and maybe twice that
Mhm.
if they wanted to get federal water. This is California. This Teddy Roosevelt set that up. So there were lots of small ranches, small farms, and that changed over the last 50 years. So large ranches, large farms, and you lost that family experience, which is I think incredible for the West.
Mhm.
Um, so part of my writing has to do with that loss and what happened, how those ranches got challenged.
Oh, that's really cool. Well, how did you become a writer for DSP?
There's a writing group involved with David Watts, who is a really wonderful Western writer.
Yeah.
And he said, "Have you heard about Nick? And let me talk about that." And he told me, so then I made the connection to Nick from there. And then so I meet with David at least once a week, or maybe 3, 4 times a month. And there's a poetry group and a writing group we get together. And so once I wrote the first one, The Guns of Revenge,
I
that
love
really opened it up because that was so fun writing that first one, and it
Yeah,
did really well. Did really well on Amazon and classic westerns. And then I got the bug. Then it's just like this is just really really fun.
I love that. Well, can you tell me a little bit about your writing process?
First thing in the morning, 2 hours.
Guys, are you like, do you plot things really like a lot? Or do you just
Oh
kind of like,
God,
how
that's
does that? Yeah.
that's a really good question. That's a hard question. There's theoretically two ways to do this. One is you have a plot and an ending, and the
Okay.
chapters lead to that, and you've got it all plotted out ahead of time. I don't do that so much. What I do is I'll get an idea and start engaging towards a direction, but I don't want to know the end. I really don't. I want to kind of push it until I get so stressed out on how is this thing going to end. Then there's so much energy in that. And I'll go
Right.
down the wrong path, pull back, go forward. And so if I'm surprised at the end, the reader will be surprised at the end. There'll be a transmission that way, and it usually works.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Um,
love that. So
yeah,
I love hearing different ways that authors go about the writing process. I think
yeah.
that's really interesting. So tell me about what you're currently working on.
Okay. So I'll tell you about the one that just came out that's doing well. I will even show
Okay.
it to you. I don't know if
Yeah.
that goes through. It's called Under the Shadow of Hawks, and
Yeah.
that's a little different than the other ones. The other ones are set maybe in the Southwest, maybe in the 1880s. This
Mhm.
one's set in 1954.
Okay.
And so it's of that era, of that time, these small ranches under so
Right.
much stress. Um, and in this story, it's from the viewpoint of a girl named Etta May, who she appears developmentally disabled.
Okay.
She appears she's probably about 12, and she's had severe trauma as a child, and she can't really speak clearly. So she might say "dug" instead of dog, or "ch" instead of cat. And
Hmm.
after a while, you start, and so the whole book is from her viewpoint, looking at the family and looking at the attacks on the family, both from agribusiness, from the U.S. Navy wanting to take out the town, which is a true story, by the way.
Okay.
Where I grew up in a place called Port Chicago, there was a small town, 500 people, and we were in the suburbs of the small town. We were out in the ranch, further
Okay.
out from the little town, and the U.S. Navy was right on the bay there, and they said, this town really should go. It's dangerous for this town. The town had been there for 150 years, and the Navy ended up taking it out.
Wow.
And so that's my memory as a child. And so I want to tell that story from the viewpoint of a girl that's so innocent. She's just completely innocent, trying to understand the world that we're living in and she was living in. And then she watches the family fight to try and save the ranch.
That sounds really moving.
Oh, it was really exciting. It was touching to write it. I had memories. And partly there's some connections because in my family at the time, there was a girl who was developmentally disabled, my cousin who came to live on the ranch. And there's another family member who has developmentally disabled issues. And if you just kind of walk away from it, you don't notice. But if you spend time, you get that feel of innocence that we don't have. We know so much of the world, what's going to happen, the elections, the catastrophe, but from that absolutely innocent viewpoint is what I wanted to get, and then what happens to it, and what the challenges are to it.
I
Yeah,
like that. I like that a lot. Um, is this a standalone or is this potentially a series? Are you
I
a series writer? Are you a
I I tend not to be a series writer. I know
Okay.
Nick likes that, and other people do.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't decided about this one yet because it goes from I'm not sure yet.
Okay.
That's a nice challenge, though.
Okay.
I'm gonna think about
Okay.
I'm gonna think about that one. And
Um,
what happens to this innocent girl is, and see, she doesn't. She's trying to understand the world, and then her cousin comes to live with them, and he's about 5 years older, and he's from San Francisco, and he's very urban, and he's very intellectual, and so
okay.
you've got the two of them, and the story really is about the two of them going through life together. She's coming at it from this completely innocent viewpoint that people barely understand her, and he's intellectualizing and thinking and arguing, and so you get the byplay between the two of them, looking at the world of the challenge, trying to hold on to the ranch.
Mhm. One thing I'm wondering then, I
Yeah,
love I love how different your book is, considering it's like Western, but it's very different for the genre. So, in your
yeah.
opinion, for the future of the Western genre, where do you see it going? Do you see
Oh,
it still
that's
staying with Mountain Man? Do you see it changing, mixing with other genres like Western horror? What do you see it? What do you see? What would happen in the future?
that's a wonderful question. I don't know.
You don't know.
I love what you just said was very interesting. The idea of taking a western and it's such a wonderful genre to play with it from anything from horror to who just wrote that science fiction movie? Nope. Played
Nope.
with that kind of nope. He played with that idea.
Oh, yeah, yeah, with the like the aliens, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, so there's
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah, yeah.
kinds of things, but within the genre, there are questions that are raised constantly about
Right.
individualism, about how we get along with nature, how we get along with historical Native American, what happens. So the genres, I think, can just go anywhere. What I did was more the psychological and the challenge to be able to survive. But other people do all kinds of wonderful.
Yeah, there's just so much. I feel like it's
Yeah.
ever growing, ever expanding. What is a project that you haven't yet written, but maybe is a dream project down the road that you would love to write? with maybe like if there was no stopping you if you not no stopping if you had all the time in the world that you could dedicate, what would be a dream thing for you to write?
Yeah, what a wonderful question. All right, so yes, I started that
Oh,
after I
okay.
finished the anime book, which is
Okay.
very sensitive and powerful in its way. I said, okay, that's innocence. That's pure innocence. How's innocence face the world? So let me talk about what happens when evil faces the world. That's the one I'm working on right now.
Okay.
And it starts off with him, this guy killing a ranger of all things, a young ranger. What a horrible person he is. And you play with where did that evil come from? Where did that? So then the next section is where did the evil come from in his life? And then you go a little further, and then is there any kindness in him? Yes, there was kindness in him.
Hmm.
And so I'm playing it out that way. I'm about 15 pages into it. But then he also talks to the birds. He talks to the birds. The birds talk back to him.
That's
So
cool.
I'm playing with all kinds of different levels on what happened, where evil comes from, how it plays out, what to do with it.
I love that too, especially when you have morally gray characters because they're more fascinating in a way. You get to see
Oh,
it's like what caused them to be who they are. They're just so fascinating.
yeah. And then what happens? And there's
Exactly.
little moments of kindness. The guy's a horrible person. He's doing these horrible things. And this one, I know the ending, which I will not tell you. This one, I know exactly how it ends. It'll be a surprise.
Oh, okay.
This is the one I'm trying to hold not to talk about it too much, but this is the one where I know how it ends, and that has to do with evil. What happens evil?
Okay. Okay. That's really cool.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I'm almost done asking questions for you. We went through that pretty fast, but one of the last questions that I have for
sure.
you is what is some advice that you would give to aspiring writers?
Wonderful question. I heard it once. There's a lot of words about a lot of things people say about that, and I can tell you for me how it worked. And somebody said there's 6 words for a writer. 6 words: read, 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 write, write, write.
Yeah, definitely.
That's it.
I
And so
agree.
for me, it was reading. There was a lot of things. And when I was a child, well, going too long, but when I was a child, I lost my father when I was very young, when I was 12. And I did not know how to deal with that. Did not know how to deal with it. And I started reading, and people in their writing were talking about the people that have departed haven't really left. They're still inside you. And if you know that, they're always with you. So I read that. So here goes. I read Dr. Zhivago, Boris Pasternak's Dr. Zhivago, high school. I'm going, oh, this is a hard novel. But then I got to one point where one guy was saying that. So then I'm watching an old TV show, which really sort of Rawhide with Clint Eastwood. An old
Okay.
TV show back in the 50s, 60s. And they've got the cook, typical Western cook on a wagon train. And he says almost exactly the same thing to Clint Eastwood in the TV show. And
Wow.
so this idea, this powerful idea, so it goes to read, 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 write, write, write. But then if it touches you inside, it changes you. And
Mm.
that changed me. That both reading the classic novel and then watching a TV show, a Western, where the
They're having
cook
to connect.
is
Yeah.
saying exactly the same thing. And then that it made it more powerful.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and talk with me. I loved hearing from you. This was great. But before you go, can you tell anyone who's watching where can they find you on social media?
Oh, oh my goodness. So I've got I should have been thinking about that. There's a website, William Vlach,
Okay.
VLACH. That's a website. Amazon has all the books, most of the books.
Right.
William Vlach or Bill Vlach. I use both.
Okay.
Um, yeah, that's it right now. I'm working some Twitter stuff, but that's social media. But
No,
so
I know.
the web page in Amazon, is the best way to do it.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, I'll make sure that we have the links in the description of the video so everyone can go check out your work and whatnot.
Great, Erica, this is wonderful. Thank you. Your questions were it just got me thinking and engaging. It was wonderful.
That's the point. I want to try to keep you talking. Well, thank you so much. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. I will send you the link for the video once they edit it and then post it and everything.
Hey, great. Hey, thank you so much, Eric. I really
Yeah,
appreciate it.
thank you. Okay, well, you have a
All
good
right.
rest of your day.
All right. Take care.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Bye bye.